Break free from the limits of your food allergy with Gem City Fine Foods. We make all of our incredible desserts using only clean ingredients like cage-free eggs and RBGH-free dairy in our dedicated gluten-free and nut-free facility. From our Sophie Award-winning flourless torte to our vegan chocolate cake, beautiful and delicious treats shipped right to your door. Find us today on Amazon or at gemcityfinefoods.com. Why do we cook? We cook for food, for family, and for friends. We cook to bring people together.
Honey, that looks good. Pardon my fork.
Yes, hello and welcome to my favorite part of the week, and undoubtedly your favorite part too. I assume. I'm going to make that assumption because I'm putting positive vibes out there. Pardon my fork. This is Andy, and we have a really fun episode for you today. It is the amazing Donna Yamini, the Jelly Queen, who I always love to talk to, and she's going to talk to us today about, lots of fun stuff, as well as the competition that she has going on right now, the Biscuits and Championship, which we will get to in just a couple of minutes. This is a competition that, quite frankly, I am really wanting to enter into. I don't know if I'm going to have the time. I'm going to see if I can carve out some time this weekend to put my entry in, but you guys are going to hear why this is such a killer deal and why I'm so into it. But I'll tell you what, man, multitasking, wow. We all have those kitchen utensils that multitask for us. I think Alton Brown says, don't ever get a kitchen utensil that only does one thing. No one-trick ponies. You always want to have stuff that can fill multiple roles. And that just kind of keeps the clutter down. It helps you maximize your space, your effectiveness. So it completely makes sense. Get yourself a cheese grater that has a zester on one side if you're getting one of the, stand-up ones or something like that. But it's not too different with grills. And I know I talk about grilling all the time, and especially I talk about our pork chops because I love pork chops and I cook them all the time. And I got a really good deal on a whole bunch of packs from Safeway, so now we're trying to cook them up. But getting yourself a nice smoker grill, something that is thickly insulated or uses a heavy material or, that sort of thing. It's really underrated. I have to start admitting that to myself. I always was one of those people where I was like, nah, I don't need a Kamado grill or a ceramic or whatever. And then, as most of you know, I got a deal on one of the Acorn Juniors. It's a small egg-shaped grill, but it's really just sized for like 2-3 people, maybe 4 people at the most. But I was so stunned by it because last night, of course, what did I cook? Cabbage and pork chops, because that's just the way I roll. It got up to temperature really fast, up to a grilling temp. We were able to cook on it hot and fast. And I closed all the dampers down, closed the whole thing up. And this morning, when I got up to go and let the chickens and the ducks out, I noticed that the thermometer on it still said like 100 degrees, 120 degrees. And I just thought, that's really odd. Did I not close all the valves down all the way or something? Has it been burning this whole night? Nope, everything's closed. I popped the lid open. Sure enough, it's still warm inside, but all the coals are dead. And by the way, they're still sitting there. Like the second that I closed everything down, they started to extinguish themselves. And trust me, I'm not one of those people where I think you need to get a grill strictly because you can hang on to the last little bit of your charcoal that you don't use. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But I have to admit, I was very, very impressed. And when I go to use it again this weekend or next week or whenever, that charcoal is going to be in the bottom and I'm going to be able to light it up and use it, and it's not going to be a problem. And it just really kind of caught me off guard, but in a good way. So that's my personal recommendation of, if you've ever seen one of those grills and you're thinking to yourself, why are they so expensive? You might want to think twice about just dismissing it, because I am very impressed with what I've seen so far. And sorry, Corianne, but I might be looking to get myself one of those Kamado grills. Anyways, that is neither here nor there. Today we are talking about jams and jellies and a very special competition that is going to be going on. Let's go ahead and cue that up. So please enjoy my conversation with the Jelly Queen. Donna Yamini, how are you doing?
I'm good, Andy. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. I always enjoy talking to you. It's just such a fun thing that you do and your background and everything. I do encourage people to go back and listen to the episode that you did with me a couple of months ago. And we did kind of a deep dive into you and things that you have going on. And I'll tell you what, people really responded well to the things that you had to say about, the feng shui of a kitchen. That was a really fun and interesting conversation.
That is hilarious. I'm glad to hear that.
You posted something recently about a temple that was built entirely on the concept of feng shui, didn't you?
I did, yeah. There's a lot of places, in China where everything started, where, the entire village is based on those principles. So
no kidding.
We've got lots of history, and it's really easy to sort of see how those principles come into play and how they really work. So
Sure. And it's not something that is foreign to people, or at least it shouldn't be, because you're always trying to set your kitchen up in a way that promotes the most productivity, and everything is easy to get to and everything like that. And so,
yeah, you hear about the triangle of, the stove, the refrigerator, and the sink, always putting things so that somebody can have an easy path. So it's fun.
You know what? That's interesting that you say the triangle, because now it makes a little more sense to have like a corner kitchen with an island that has functional pieces in the island.
Yeah, the jelly kitchen is really set up so that it's really a very small space, because for us, the smaller the space is, the more efficient and the faster we can move. I know that some commercial kitchens are kind of all spread out and kind of gigantic, but when you're moving things from the stove and the oven to the counter and pouring hot stuff, and, because we do everything by hand, I actually started making jelly in a kitchen that was about 6 feet by 4 feet. And so my triangle was very tiny, and I just learned that the tighter, it's kind of like the kitchens at WFC. Mm-hmm. I was like, you can be really efficient in a small space because you're basically just turning to get to what you need to do.
And when you're making jelly, you don't need all that many different components, right? I mean, everything you need is pretty much at hand.
Yes. The jelly kitchen is kind of an unusual place because we're using an oven just for sterilization, the cooktop, to make the jelly on, and then a stainless steel countertop to, use as the pouring surface. So it's really an inexpensive thing to sort of set up. We don't need fancy stoves and, all kinds of crazy equipment. The state doesn't require us to have a grease trap because we're not putting anything greasy, down the drain.
Right.
So it's kind of a fun, easy space to set up.
I know I'm going off on a weird tangent here, but I was just talking to somebody about pieces of the pie as far as like the world is concerned. And everyone thinks, we've got these people that are taking up the entire pie. There's no way that I can get any slice off of it at all. And that is 100% not true, because here you are in a small kitchen space producing jellies. And listen, there's Smuckers out there, and there's all of like the home brands for the different grocery stores. Why would you be able to make something that could outcompete them? You don't have to outcompete them. You just have to produce something that's better than them.
Or different than them.
Or different, sure.
Yeah. When I first started the company, one night my husband sent me to Walmart. I don't know if I told you this story before. He sent me to Walmart to get some tools for him. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to detour through the jelly area. And this is a Walmart superstore. So it's like the biggest Walmart I had ever been to in Dallas. It's just this gigantic place. And I got to the jelly aisle, and I just burst into tears. And I hardly ever cry. I usually only cry when I'm really moved or really happy. And I just burst into tears. And I called my husband, and he was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was like, "I have lost my mind. I cannot compete with all this jelly. There must be 300 kinds of jelly at Walmart." And he just started laughing. He was like, "Well, so far you seem to make the best jelly I've ever had, so we're just going to keep at it. So you just can't be worried about what everybody else is doing. You just have to do the best you can on your own.
Man, that's so true. That's what innovation is. And look at you now. I mean, you are the Jelly Queen. 19 national and international awards. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is. And a sponsor of the World Food Championships. And you have your own competition going on right now that people can enter into called the Biscuits and Championship.
Yes. This is something that I have been bugging Mike McLeod about for, I think, 4 or 5 years. There aren't very many jam competitions in the United States. And a lot of the awards that we've won have been in other countries. We have the Good Food Awards here, but it's not a strictly jam competition. They are kind of like the World Food Championships in that they have like 10 or 12 divisions that things can go into. And we have state fairs, but that's really kind of it. And so I wanted to be able to do something that was very jam centric, and have it be something that I could let everybody just get wildly creative, because the Jelly Queen's recipes are very unusual. We don't try to compete with Schmuckers or Welch's or somebody who makes really good standard American kind of jelly. So we try to come up with the most unusual flavor profiles that we possibly can. So as people have signed up for the competition, which started July the 15th, and it actually ends August 18th, they've written me and they're like, are there limits? I was like, no, you can create your wildest jam, do the craziest thing that you ever thought of that could be a jam. I want to see as much creativity and imagination coming from these flavors that you can come up with. And so far, the things that have come in have been really cool.
Ooh, can you, you probably can't talk about any of the ones that you've seen so far.
I know.
Man.
It's all secret. They're all secret, so.
Well, am I dreaming, or didn't I see you posted a photo on Facebook of a big box of figs on your front step here a while back?
Did, yes. Those were from a friend of mine's backyard. Are
you going to be doing anything with those?
Well, I've already made it. I did grapefruit fig marmalade.
Ooh.
And it was, they were ruby red grapefruits and white figs. And it took a while to sort of get the bitterness. I even had to go back and sort of do some research and try to see what counterbalances the bitterness of the grapefruit. But it came out really good. And I want to make cookies with them for some reason. I just want to make, those little Linzer Tort cookies. It's the prettiest stuff. So.
Ooh, you know what? I was just thinking, when you said that, the first thing I was thinking of was like a shortbread thumb drop cookie. Do you know
yes, thumbprint cookies?
Thumbprint
yeah,
cookie?
I love those.
Yeah. So our fig tree is in full swing. We just have the one. I don't know that we could ever get a whole box of figs off of it, but we're at the point now where we're picking 2, 3, 4, 5 a day, depending on what the weather is here.
Oh, it'll get bigger. You'll have a whole lot more by the time. Yeah. Down here, the fig trees do 20 pounds, like my friend has gotten, I think so far off of her one tree, she's gotten close to 40 pounds.
Crazy. What? I just can't believe how big they're getting, by the way. When we first started getting figs off of that tree, which was almost dead when we bought this house, by the way, and my wife amazingly has brought it back. But the figs were just, I don't know, they were small, I don't quite know what to compare them to. They were just very small. And now we've got figs that are still green. They're still growing, that are going to take up the majority of my hand when I pick them.
Wow. Where are you? On the West Coast, right? Oregon.
I'm in Oregon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But these are brown turkey figs. They're known for being a little bigger and sweeter. Yeah.
We have black figs here, and my friend's figs were white figs. So they didn't get that big, but they're just amazing. I just love figs. I think they're so good for you. It's kind of crazy. It's very hard to not just eat them uncooked, raw, just in their natural state, because they're just so wonderful.
Exactly. And then what made you decide that the grapefruit was going to be the right way to go to complement the fig?
I wanted it to be a completely Texas product. So ruby red grapefruits are a very easy citrus to grow in Texas. And I happen to have some that I had, we fillet the rind and remove all the pith when we make our marmalade. So it's a little different than I think how a lot of people make marmalade, but we really make marmalade for people who don't like marmalade and who are just kind of being introduced to it. And so I had the grapefruit already, and I was just waiting for something to do with it. So the end product is kind of a pinkish brown color. It came out really interesting. So
a pinkish brown.
It's a very light, very pale, sort of with a tint of pink to it from, the two fruits being mixed together.
I don't know, man. The more I hear about it, the more I feel like I need to drizzle a dark chocolate over the top of it. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'll have to try that.
And that is, of course, not the only new flavor that you guys have come out with. What else have you been working on? Let's get those taste buds working and our mouths salivating a little bit.
Well, let's see. So we have a new sweet tomato, which is really funny because the first time I made it, we actually just sat down and just ate a whole jar of tomato jam, each of us. It was just so good. It was kind of crazy.
Oh, that's funny.
And this year we're doing, because of people have requested it, things that are single flavors. So we have pure peach and pure plum. It's just kind of different for us because we usually kind of do crazy things like the fig and grapefruit. And then our favorite thing that we've been working on here recently is our blueberry balsamic glaze. It's not a new flavor, but we hide it when we make it so that we stumble across it sometime later in the year and go, oh yeah, here's that case of blueberry balsamic I forgot all about. Because we like it so much, we try not to sell it.
Oh my gosh.
We kind of just keep it for ourselves. It's kind of crazy. So, blueberries have just finished their season here. And so we made as much blueberry balsamic as we could.
I don't normally think about blueberries and balsamic, but that's fantastic.
Oh, we use it for salad dressing. We use it to put on meats and dipping sauce for grilled vegetables. It's really, really cool. We started off doing it as a shrub, and we did a whole series of different shrubs, just sort of playing with that whole formula. And we just kind of cooked it until it got so thick that everybody was like, okay, this is like the best thing ever. So
Yes, I love it. The other day when Corianne and I were recording, as a matter of fact, it was with Chef Eva Marie Romero, who loves your stuff, by the way. She kind of had a long conversation with me about how her first time at the World Food Championships, she incorporated one of your jams into a lemon tart that she was making, and it just came out incredible. And so she loves your stuff, by the way.
Good. She's a sweet girl.
Oh, she was amazing to talk to. That was a ton of fun. And by the way, not to get all sidetracked, I apologize, but that is such an important topic. So we did a show all about special needs and special diets, and we incorporated a lot of getting kids involved with their food, with growing, and with cooking. And that episode really meant a lot to me, and I'm glad that people have been responding well to it, because that's a conversation that I feel like we're not having enough of. And so if the folks listening now haven't heard it, when they're done with this episode, because we got a lot of other cool stuff going on here, but I encourage you to go back and listen to that one, those of you at home that are listening to this one, because it's a really important conversation. Anyways, I'm totally derailing what we're talking about. I apologize. Blueberries and balsamic vinegar sounds like the most incredible combination. And what it reminded me of was when Corianne and I recorded last week, we had these figs that I'd picked right off our tree, and I drizzled them with a little bit of honey and a little bit of balsamic reduction and then a little bit of goat cheese over the top. And I don't know how you'd make that into a jelly.
That sounds good.
But I'm just sitting here thinking, how would I make that into a jelly?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what my brain does is, I told somebody the other day, a lot of my ideas come from cocktails, and I don't drink, and so it's just sort of hilarious. I go and sit at a bar, waiting for friends when we go out to dinner, and I'll just go over the cocktail menu, and I'm like, okay, that one would be really good as jelly. That one would be really good as jam, So I like the whole idea of incorporating, quirky kind of cocktail recipes and turning them into jam. So I look at something and go, oh, that I might have to try that as a jam.
Right. Have you tried doing a Moscow Mule jam yet?
No, what's in a Moscow Mule?
It's vodka and ginger beer, and then sometimes people will add like a muddled mint. Not everybody does, but sometimes.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. And it's really popular right now to go heavy on the ginger. There's a brand called Cock and Bull, and it's basically like a double ginger beer, and it's almost spicy. That's how gingery it is, but that's the popular one. Yeah,
ginger gets so hot sometimes. We make in-house a candied ginger paste that we use anytime we have ginger in our jellies and nut butters. We use it in a lot, not fruit butters. We use it in a lot of like pumpkin butter and pear butter, apple butter. Always has candied ginger paste in it. So that would be we did mint jelly this spring, so it might be kind of interesting to put all that together.
Yeah, just something to think about. It's something that I like throwing out there. And as a matter of fact, okay, the vodka that I think you should use is from that same distillery that I set you up with, Vivacity. They make an incredible vodka product.
Well, I'm working on my recipes for infusions, vodka infusions. So it's just sort of hilarious. You come into the kitchen and there's just alcohol all over the place, and Here we don't even drink a drop. It all just goes into jelly. It's kind of funny.
What does it take to make a commercial infusion?
We do everything by hand, so it's not much different for us than if you went on Amazon and got an infusion kit. I mean, we went to a distillery a couple of months ago. Out in the boondocks in Texas, Sledge Distillery, and they just make a beautiful product. And I was really kind of surprised that what I was doing was on a small scale is what they do on a big scale. So we just take the vodka or the tequila or whatever it is that we're looking to make an infusion with, and we use essential oils, we use fruit, we use flowers, we use, whatever the flavor is that we're trying to come across with. And so we just do it the way, somebody would do at home.
I love that because I really want to do something like that at home. I met a fella who is kind of I don't want to call him a moonshiner because he's, it's a hobby and you can create a little bit for yourself. But he sent me home with just a mason jar full of this really good sugar wash. It's just cane sugar that was fermented and then distilled. And I couldn't believe how good it was. He double distills everything, and he's a stickler for cutting his heads and tails. And so very, very impressive what he does for being just a hobbyist, But I threw some in this little barrel. It's like a 2-quart toasted oak barrel that my wife got me just as a present at some point, and then I never did anything with it. And I keep thinking to myself, I wonder if I could use that to make infusions or like barrel-aged cocktails and stuff after I've used it a few times to age liquor in, Yeah,
I'm sure you could. We just do ours, in kind of growler size jars. So, and then we put it in the window because I like to do it. I kind of watch how it changes color because the infusion will add some color to whatever it is. And so I like it to be a certain color. So I set it up in the window, and so the sun is pouring through it so that I can, snatch it off the window and, drain everything off at just the right stage.
Right. It reaches that color, it reaches that flavor, and since you have the light pouring through it, you can kind of see exactly what it's going to look like.
Yeah. So that every part of it makes a little bit of difference to me. I'm a harsh jelly judge. I think, which is why I'm not judging the biscuit and championships, because I like to have everything be like the perfect color. I mean, I want it to be a pretty color, not just tasty. So.
Right. Yeah. So hang on a second. You're not doing any of the judging?
I'm not doing any of the judging. No.
I'm
letting actually EAT certified judges do the judging. And I'm not EAT certified. I've hosted 2 different EAT classes. But when you're hosting the event, it's kind of hard to sit down and listen, So we have 5 EAT certified judges who will come in and do the judging for everything that we receive by 5:01 on August the 18th. And then on September the 2nd, the top 10 people will be announced. So our 2 requirements for the competition are, 1, you have to be available to do the cook-off at the World Food Championships on October 19th in Dallas. So you have to be available to come to Dallas on the 19th. And then the rest of it is you can make your jelly at home. Your biscuits will be what will be made on site. And then you have to put the 2 of them together for the final tasting. So, and it is open to anyone. You don't have to be connected to any other part of the World Food Championships. This is a completely open competition.
You just have to be able to make it to the World Food Championships for the final round of it.
Right.
I gotcha.
So if you can make biscuits and you can make jelly, you can send your jelly in between now and August 18th, and then plan your trip to come, to Dallas for the World Food Championships in October.
So hang on, just so that I understand this right, do you have golden tickets that you're handing out?
What the Biscuit and Championships will do is, out of everyone who sends in their jelly, so on the 25th of August, we're actually having our jelly final judging. So from July 15th to August 18th, anyone in the world is eligible to enter the competition as long as they can be in Dallas on the 19th. And then on the 25th of August, we're going to have our final tasting, and we will pick the best recipes for the biscuits and recipes for the jam. That will be announced on September the 2nd. And then those 10 people will battle it out in a competition on October the 19th from 3 to 5 o'clock, which is Saturday afternoon. It's like the best time.
So it's your own category.
It's my own. Yeah.
That is incredible. I don't think I quite realized that.
Yeah, it's an ancillary competition, but since on Saturday, it's all sort of top 10 for several of the other divisions. There's only 10 people cooking in that whole arena. So we're going to take like the backside of the arena to do the top 10 for biscuits and jam.
Nice. Okay, I getcha. Wow. I'm just thinking about what people are going to be able to expect going to this Biscuits and Championship. I mean, this is going to be next level. I don't even know how I would go about beginning to compete in this at the World Food Championships. Are they going to be making their jellies on site there?
No,
or
on site, they'll just do their biscuits.
Okay.
Their jelly is being made between now and the 18th of August. They are to ship in 2 jars of that batch to me. And so I'm collecting all the jelly now. And then they bring the rest of the jelly with them to the competition. So on the 19th, what they'll do is they will make their biscuits fresh. Their jelly will already be there with them. And they'll present their jelly and jam to the judges as the final act.
Man, they're not going to be able to sleep on those biscuits then. That is a huge, huge part of this competition, because if they're just doing some generic biscuit, they are going to be up against some stiff competition. Yeah.
So the biscuits have to be extra good, along with the fact that they have to come up with a really creative jam. And the thing that's really exciting for us is that we will have a first, second, and third place winner. Each winner will receive a cash prize and some other goodies. and the Jelly Queens will produce their jam and ship it to them so that they'll be able to sell their jam.
Oh, wow. That is a grand prize right there. Oh, man, that would be worth it. Now I'm sitting here thinking, what kind of a jelly recipe do I need to come up with? Because to have you guys take that recipe and produce it for them, that is huge.
Well, we're going to design their label for them. So what they'll receive back is a ready to sell product.
Oh, man. That is so worth it. That is an enormous, enormous prize. I am so impressed that you guys are doing that.
I'm pretty excited about it. So
those listening at home, I mean, if you think you have a worthwhile recipe for either of those or both of them, you got to submit them. And you said August 18th, right?
There's still time for everybody to practice. If you're a good jam maker, you have time to practice your biscuits between now and October. So
oh yeah,
there's still plenty of time for everybody to do it.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of time to submit too. I mean, a little over 2 weeks left.
Yeah, we're halfway through today, basically. So there's still time to get everything in.
I need to make sure to post that up on Pardon My Fork Facebook and Instagram, because I want to make sure that people are able to take advantage of this opportunity that you're putting out there, because honestly, that's huge. Don't get me wrong, a cash prize is what everybody wants, but to have their product completely produced and label designed and everything by you guys, that's astonishing. That's worth more than any cash prize, to me at least.
Well, I'm what's really funny is we found out in some of our research that the biscuit industry is expecting a 700% increase between now and 2025. So biscuits and jam are kind of like a trending food thing right now.
No kidding.
Isn't that funny? I just love that, so it's like biscuits and jam are becoming their own industry. So it was like, wow, we're really right on target with this.
Yeah, you are. Because I was going to ask, what made you decide that you would offer that, the production of this person's recipe?
It's just sort of what I've always wanted to do. It was just kind of like, I have lots of ideas when it comes to, products to make. I have no shortage of creativity there. But I mean, I want this tradition of preserving, to be something that everyone from each generation, I think there was a little lull there, from my generation, maybe my kids kind of weren't really, into all that kind of stuff. But preserving food is just so much fun and so much healthier. And I think it's actually very meditative, the process of cooking and canning in general is just such a lovely experience. I mean, I have people come into the kitchen and go, I can't believe this is your job. This is how, you make your money. It's just kind of funny that it's an adorable place and we have fun every day. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a luscious life.
It sounds to me like you're trying to give back in your own way, which, by the way, I very much appreciate. It's one of those weird things where if a person was raised on McDonald's hamburgers, they can have the most gourmet burger I've ever made, and they're still going to be like, yeah, it's not bad, but it's not a McDonald's burger. And so I do agree with you, bringing that back into the home, the canning and the preserving and the growing your own food. And even if it's just in small ways, like we talked about in last week's episode, even just a window garden box where, you've got a little head of romaine that you grow and some herbs and spices and stuff. That is so important because you're bringing it back into the home. And I agree with what you're saying there. There needs to be a move. And I think there is a movement back into that, bringing a lot of this stuff back into the home.
Yeah, it's, the slow food nation, promotes all of this kind of thing. I think that young mothers today are kind of going back to making their own baby food. I hear a lot about millennials that are starting to have kids that are, making their own baby food and that kind of thing. So I think that it's starting to catch on. And I think that one of the things that's really fun is that I believe that people are a little intimidated about biscuit making and jam making until they try it.
Right.
It's like, oh, I can't make biscuits. I watch my grandma make them or whatever. And that's just so hard. There's so many steps with, making jelly. It just, and I don't want to make anybody sick. And I don't, what if I screw it up? But it's both of them are so much easier. And once somebody does them, they're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun to do. This year, we actually started canning everything we can from one of our farms. We get a lot of our ingredients from Bonton Farms, which is a nonprofit farm in a part of Dallas that is known as a food desert. And they have started a market, and they have 40 acres and they also have an little urban farm. So we get a lot of different things from them, and it's all very amazing. It's kind of like farm to table cooking just in general, the long table dinners and that kind of thing. It all plays into all of that whole process.
I agree with that. It's the idea of community and self-reliance, and it kind of gives you, it really does give you a sense of accomplishment when you're able to do stuff like that and finish it and get it done. I don't know. I'm thinking about when my wife cans things. So she wants to do green beans. She really wants to do a whole bunch of pickled green beans. And since we're trying to live this lifestyle of being more home related, more farm related, then we got to buy in season, right? That's just the way it is.
Right. Yeah.
And it's funny. I'm thinking back to something Roberto Rose told me, because we were doing an episode about budget cooking, and he was just like, you'd be amazed at the incredible ingredients you can get as long as you're buying them in season. So, that really goes to what we're talking about here. We'll probably can 30 or 40 pounds of green beans. And when you're done with that and you're putting them all away, man, there's an accomplished feeling that comes with that.
That's what it's like at the end of the day at the Jelly Kitchen. It's like, wow, I actually made this. This is complete. It gives you, it's just a wonderful feeling when everything is all labeled and in the box. And it's like, wow, I made 100 jars of jelly today. I told somebody this weekend that in pioneer times, a normal housewife would can about 600 jars a season to keep the family in food for the winter season. Because we're canning and harvesting all this stuff all summer and into the fall, and then we have stuff to eat. So I said, what's really funny is at the Jelly Kitchen, we can make 100 jars per person a day. So in a week, we make as much as what was made in early times in a whole season. And a lot of the reason why our flavors are kind of different or whatever is we're just taking in whatever our farmers drop off on the porch each week. One of my favorite farmers is Gary Ulrich from the Ulrich Farm, and he comes on Tuesdays and he just brings whatever he grew. And I sometimes I don't even know what's coming. It's like the first time I made blueberry cantaloupe jam, everybody said, I never heard of cantaloupe jam. And I was like, hey, that's what he brought this week. So we're going to figure out how to can cantaloupe. So I love that whole idea of, okay, you got to think of a recipe today. This is what we have in house. So habanero and blackberries came in one day, and that became habanero blackberry jam. So that's where some of the combinations come from.
I like that a lot, because when we used to get CSA boxes, which, you know what, I need to sign up for again, because I honestly miss it. And every week you didn't really know what was coming. And it really helped to kind of expand my horizons. And so I completely understand what you're talking about. You just kind of get this box, and it's whatever was grown by the local farm or farmer. And you just go, oh, wow, what's this? What can I do with that? And you do a little research, and then you taste it and you go, oh, I think I could do this with it or that with it. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from with that. That's super funny.
Well, one of the things that happened early on is we had some business advisors come into the Jelly Queens. And I may have told you this last time, but it continues to sort of always amaze me. They said, you have to make strawberry jam all year long. And I was like, well, that's just not possible. And they were like, strawberries are available in the grocery store all year. This is the hottest selling, best selling jam in the United States. And I said, well, do you know why? And they were like, well, it doesn't really matter why. You just need to make this all year long. And I said, strawberries are one of those crops where it's turned into jam. It was originally started being turned into jam because there were so many that came in at one time that they had to do something to preserve it, right? So they started making jelly and jam. It's not like it's the best flavor or the favorite flavor of everyone in America. It just happens to be a fruit that there's a plethora of. So anyway, this was late October, and they wanted me to make strawberry jam. And so up to that point, I had only made fresh strawberry jam when strawberries were in season in Texas, which is April. So I ordered strawberries from, a big house, a big, food supply house. And they came from Venezuela. They flew the strawberries from Venezuela to Texas, or however they got here. And when I gave these advisors the bill and showed them, okay, so in April, I was getting, a big case of strawberries, and I was, paying an average of $4 for a big pint of strawberries wholesale from the farmers that I would get them from. But getting them from this big supply house in October, almost November, it was like $11 for a pint. That was supposed to be wholesale. Whoa. And so the jam was very expensive. And so I said, this is why we don't make it out of season. Number one, it doesn't taste as good. I compared the jars. The color of the in-season fruit is dark and rich, and sort of, you can just see how pretty the fruit is. Whereas the late fruit that was coming, from Venezuela, the strawberries were very white on the inside, and the jam was almost kind of a pinky color, not this dark ruby red. And it was, 4 times as expensive. Finally, they were like, okay, so we get it. And I just always was amazed that everybody thinks that just because something is in the grocery store all year long, they don't think about how healthy it is when it gets to you, because the longer it has to travel, the more it's losing its nutrients. And we need to be concentrating on what our local farmers do, because it helps the economy all the way around. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how we made our decisions.
No, that completely makes sense. And you know what? I don't want extra stuff being done. A lot of people talk about, ethylene gas. Yeah, so we, spray it on our plants or our fruits, and they ripen up, and, it's just a way that we can transport it and stuff like that. Like, I get all of that, but it's not the same. It's like you were talking about with those strawberries that are out of season, and they have to ship them so far, so they have to pick them way underripe. And then when they reach wherever they're reaching, they hit them with some ethylene gas, and it ripens them up, or at least on the outside. But then, like you said, they're white on the inside. It's the same way with, if you're in a store and you buy tomatoes, okay, and you got a tomato that is just this bright, deep red, and it looks like it's perfect, and then you pick it up and it's hard as a rock. It's because they had done that artificial ripening process. And when you want to do a product that's the highest quality, you can't be taking those shortcuts. There are no free lunches in nature. And when it comes to the flavor and the quality of your food, you can't take those shortcuts. And you know what? I applaud you for not taking the shortcuts. That's why you have so many awards. It's because you're doing things the right way, with the creativity and with the highest quality ingredients.
It makes such a big difference. So I'm excited to be able to see all these different jams that people come up with, and be able to make recipes that I didn't think of. It's like the people that are connected to the World Food Championships are so creative. I mean, I started screaming. We get the boxes in, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is what they thought of. It's like off the charts exciting to see such creativity and kind of the devotion to good, healthy food. Part of the contest is the biscuits have to be made with einkorn flour. So I don't know if you know anything about einkorn flour, but, that's one of the required products. You have to make your biscuits with einkorn flour, which is a 12,000-year-old non-genetically modified organic flour. And it's the most beautiful, it makes the most beautiful color biscuits. They're kind of, you know what that Hawaiian bread looks like? That's kind of that sweet Hawaiian bread. I can't remember the name of the company, but it's kind of this real golden yellow color.
Yeah, it's King's Hawaiian.
Einkorn wheat makes biscuits that are that color. And everybody that I've talked to so far has just gone, I had no idea that flour could be this healthy, taste this good, and not, cause all the different problems with people's digestive situations as, regular flour is. But it has no pesticides at all put on it. It's just kind of an amazing product.
Interesting. And give me the name one more time.
Einkorn, EINKORN. You need to look it up. You can get the einkorn flour from the Jovial Flour Company. You can get it on Amazon. They're not a sponsor. I don't know anybody there, but I made this a requirement. I mean, I was really brave with trying to find some sponsors, and it's not sort of my forte to go out but I'm telling you, einkorn flour from the Jovial Flour Company is one of the most amazing products I've ever used. So that's what everybody's making their biscuits with. So Rebecca Evans used it. She fixed breakfast for me a couple weeks ago, and we had biscuits and gravy, and she actually put it in her sausage gravy. And while she's cooking, she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's just fluffing up right in front of me. I have never had this experience before." But so you make those biscuits, Andy. You see what happens when you make biscuits using einkorn flour. It's expensive, but people who like, if you have celiac, you can't use, flour products at all. A lot of people have wheat intolerances, and they have stomach distress, when they've had a wheat product. And one of the things I tell them is, you're not responding to the wheat. It's not about a gluten-free thing. What you're responding to from an allergy perspective is high doses of pesticides that is put on wheat in general.
Right. Glyphosate.
So to be able to have something that is, one, genetically not modified for 12,000 years, it's still in its original form. And it's organic, and it has, it's not laden with all these pesticides. It's just the most beautiful product. So I encourage you to try it.
Oh, I'm going to now. That is a fact. I looked it up real quick while you were talking to me, and I am going to have that on the way. I honestly can't wait to try it out because, I mean, you know how it is. We eat way too many carbs, just as a society, period. And so the fact that it's more expensive will make me a little less likely to make up a whole bunch of bread. So it's kind of a win-win situation there.
Well, and it becomes a treat instead of something that you eat every single day with every meal.
Exactly.
When we make biscuits, it's a big deal, and we're getting organic jam and organic biscuits, and it's just like something to savor and sort of really relish every moment of it. It's just so special.
Wow. Speaking of savoring and relishing every moment, Donna, I am so glad that I was able to talk to you. Once again, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a really fun conversation. I tell you what, the hour just goes in the blink of an eye.
It does. You're just so much fun to talk to. And I really appreciate you, letting me talk about the Biscuits and Championship, because I'm just so excited about it. It really is one of the, as I said in my email to you, it's really fun to be me right now.
Yeah.
It's just such an exciting process. I'm just loving every minute of it.
And let's break it down one more time. So August 18th is the final day to get your entry submitted. And then winners will be announced. Remind me.
September the 2nd.
September the 2nd, and then they will be duking it out for the final money pot and this incredible opportunity to have you produce their jam or their jelly and have you just do everything. They have a market-ready product, which is still shocking to me. I'm a little stunned by that. But people, you have got to go and check that out. Of course, the Facebook page for the Jelly Queens, you're going to be able to find that stuff. It's on your website, I assume?
It is on the website. The submission form is there. And we will be crowning somebody. So you'll either become the Jelly King or the Jelly Queen of the year. So We're actually,
I
instead of
love
getting
that.
a medal or a ribbon, we're actually going to give somebody a crown.
Yes, I love that. It's worth it just for the crown. Hey, Donna, thank you so much again, and we'll talk to you soon, and we will see you at the World Food Championships.
Yay! Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it.
And there she goes. That was a lot of fun to talk about. And I'm not kidding you guys. The fact that they are going to give you a marketable product if you win, I mean, am I crazy? Like, leave me a comment down below, but am I insane for thinking that that's worth so much more than the cash prize? I don't know. I mean, I've looked around at different co-packers. Co-packers, for anybody that doesn't know, is a company that will make your product for you because they have a commercial kitchen and access to wholesale products and stuff like that. But, they're not a co-packer. They're small company doing some very specialized, very high quality stuff. And so the fact that they will, produce that for you, it just blows me away, quite frankly. And I'm very impressed with them. What else can I say? I'm very impressed, and I really do hope that you guys go and check them out. And I encourage you to enter into that competition if you get a chance to. The einkorn flour, I went ahead and ordered some of that up. Even if I don't use it in her competition, it's still going to be fun to just have it and check it out. It sounds like a great flour alternative. So I want to kind of see how I react to it and how the family reacts to it and all that good stuff. Oh, and I'm happy to report that we got a huge quantity of figs off of our tree this morning. I think I picked something like 14 or 15. They ripened just at the drop of a hat. I did not see those a couple of days ago, so I'm really glad I went out this morning with my wife, and I was like, whoa, these need to be picked real quick. There were a couple that had stayed on just a little bit too long. There were a couple that were right on the edge. They'd been on almost too long, but I went ahead and picked them, and I'm thinking, what are these going to taste like? We cut into them. They were dark. They were rich, almost syrupy, and so candy sweet. I could not believe how good they were. So if you are in an area where, I don't know, figs grow at all, if you're in Oregon, we've got them. And pretty much anywhere, our parallel, the 45th parallel and below, I think you're going to be able to find fresh figs right now. So make sure you go and do that because it is a scrumptious delicacy, and I do not want you to miss out on that. All right, you guys, that pretty much does it for me. I want to thank Donna one more time for coming on. It truly is an honor every time I get to talk to her. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you for telling a friend. I want to thank you in advance for leaving a like, a comment, maybe a review. Go out when you get a chance, leave us a review on iTunes or wherever else you listen to your podcast. We're everywhere. We're Radio Public, Spotify, Spreaker, Player FM, TuneIn, the list goes on and on. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but anywhere you listen, please feel free to throw us that review. We always appreciate it, and I want to hear feedback. I want to know how we're doing, and I want to know what you guys think about the show so far and if there's anything that we can improve. So once again, thank you in advance for doing that. And finally, a huge thanks to this episode's sponsor, Gem City Fine Foods. If you have any food allergies that you have to worry about, you've got to go and check them out. GemCityFineFoods.com and on Amazon.com, you can find their full lineup of incredible desserts made with only the cleanest ingredients like cage-free eggs and RBGH-free dairy, all produced in their dedicated gluten-free and nut-free facility. They are rich. They are delicious. They are beautiful desserts. I almost said moist, but I know that some people have an issue with that word, so I'm not going to use that word. Break free from the limits of your food allergy with Gem City Fine Foods. Oh, and be on the lookout for Barrel Age Podcast. It's so close, so close. The artwork took a little bit longer than I wanted it to. The website, I got somebody working on that. It's just not quite together yet, but we've got episodes, man. We've got episodes, and I'm trying to decide which episode I want to release first. We got Ardbeg, we got Aria Gin, we've got Spiritopia, Three Sheets Brewing, so many more. I think I've got 12 episodes recorded already, and so I'm just chomping at the bit to release them. So please do stay tuned for that. I'm going to make sure that I'm, throwing details up when we're getting closer. Hopefully 2 weeks away, we'll start releasing some of that stuff and you'll be able to see it. So make sure you're checking that out. Also, links to everything that the Jelly Queen is doing is going to be underneath of this episode at pardonmyfork.com. So please do stop by and check that out. For Donna, this is Andy, and we will see you next time.